in last night, Shanik provided clarity on the cases against him. He claims Khumalo misled the commission by not providing proper information regarding his conviction.
Myself and a number of business people were involved in buying and selling vehicles. However, we hadn't done the due diligence in checking on how the vehicles were acquired and the system used to register them on e-Natus. A whole host of police officers were arrested. There was a whole host of businessmen that were arrested.
He concedes that as a result, he and his co-accused were convicted on 18 counts ranging from carjacking to theft.
I've served the suspended sentence and I've paid the fine. So in our South African constitution, I'm a free man. I have no other cases that are pending against me. I'm not involved in crime syndicates. And furthermore, General Khumalo knows that.
At the same time, Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia says he did not understand the reason for the disbanding of the Political Killings Task Team. Kachalia is appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of police corruption today. He has been fielding questions from the evidence leader around a decision by Minister Senzo Mchunu to disband that task team. Mchunu issued a directive for the team to be disbanded following what many witnesses have said was no consultation with other key role players. Kachalia says this was confusing, especially at a time when elections were nearing.
I couldn't understand exactly what the reasons were for the disbandment of the task team. It seemed to me that the problem of, let's call them political killings, I'll come back to that, was an ongoing one. That in the run-up to the local government elections, it was likely to deepen.
To this now, a councillor in Westbury says crime in the area needs the intervention of the South African Defence Force. Marilyn Smouse says police have failed to do their job of protecting civilians from the gang violence. She was speaking on 702's Clement Manyatela show today, which was broadcasting from the Westbury Recreational Centre. Jabulile Mbata is there.
Residents, police and civil movements are all here this morning to have discussions and find possible solutions about the crime in Westbury. This comes after a mass shooting last month which left 2 teenagers dead and 5 others wounded. The shared sentiment by residents and their community leaders today is that gang violence and drugs have become the norm, making the area ungovernable. Ward 82 Councillor Marilyn Smouse says even with the deployment of the police's anti-gang units, the problems persist.
It feels like as if government is failing us currently.
She says police presence is usually felt when community members protest for their human rights, but not when it matters the most.
Just on Friday, I was at one of the boys' funerals. You know, it was so sad that there was no police visibility. One van, and they know what is happening in our community.
She adds that to restore hope in the community, immediate intervention on the highest level is required. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, Westbury.
Let's take you to the courts now, where the case of a mother accused of killing her 11-year-old son has been postponed to the Johannesburg High Court for pre-trial. Tiffany Meek appeared before the Roodepoort Magistrates Court today for the finalization of the indictment of her case. Meek is accused of killing Jaden Lees after the little boy's body was found on a staircase near their unit at a Flairhof complex in May. During this morning's proceedings, Meek's legal representative, Novan Naidu, notified the court that she will be using legal aid for the rest of her case.
I have been instructed by the accused that she can no longer afford my services and she wishes to apply for legal aid.
And at least 7 people have been killed when a UPS cargo plane crashed while taking off from an airport in Louisville, Kentucky in the United States. The state governor says the plane exploded as it departed Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport last night. It is unclear at this stage whether the death toll includes the 3 crew members who were on board the plane at the time. At least 11 other people were injured when the plane crashed, sending thick plumes of black smoke into the sky. A preliminary investigation is underway, but officials have said it is too early to say exactly what caused the crash. Gold is trading at $3,966.30 an ounce. The rand is at 17.49 to the dollar, 22.81 to the pound, 20.09 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.89 a barrel.
In the Calvin Alex area, we still have those roadworks causing delays on the N3 in both directions. This is between the Batlu interchange and London Road. There's also those faulty traffic lights in the Sharon Lee area at Malibongo Drive and Belez. In the Mother City, N1 incoming, there's an incident before Sable Road. This is causing heavy delays all the way from Plattekloof Road.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 26 and 28 degrees, while Cape Town is also partly cloudy with a fresh southeasterly wind at a high of 26. The top story in EWN this hour. Stuart Sharnick, a close associate of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, has refuted allegations made against him by crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia at the Ad Hoc Committee. The Head of Crime Intelligence is at Madlanga. An exclusive interview with Shadrack Sibiya's associate disputing Khumalo's claims. The NPA challenges Ace Makashule's PA's extradition court ruling. Amnesty International report on impact of flooding on informal settlements, and Zohran Mamdani elected mayor of New York City. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. We'll get into all of that policing stuff that we deal with every day because we've got the acting police minister who's at the ad hoc committee, and we've got the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, back at Madlanga inquiry today. But hey, have you been watching the elections in the US? I think the big story that everyone's covering is Zohran Mamdani being elected mayor of New York City, and it's been interesting to watch the groundswell of support, and it really does have that feeling. And I remember being in the US when Barack Obama was elected as president, when you have like a grassroots swell of support, and whether you agree with his politics or not, that's not the point that I'm making. Is imagine we had someone in South Africa who was able to mobilize the electorate. We have such a huge voter apathy problem in this country. Imagine there was somebody who came out of nowhere ahead of the next national government elections, somebody who you haven't heard of before, who was able to really get people excited. And I'm not saying that this person needs to have the same policies as Mamdani or the same politics as him. I'm just saying somebody who appealed to the majority of South Africans, who got people excited about politics, who inspired people, and who didn't come from one of the established political parties. Could be somebody completely new. Imagine that were to happen and what that would do for our body politic in this country and the landscape. Send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072 702 1702, 072 567 1567. You can tweet me at Mandy Wiener. Oren Singh, EWN news reporter, has been following the Madlanga Commission. Dumisani Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence, also a fraud accused, back on the stand today. We heard lots of evidence yesterday about allegations against the Deputy National Commissioner, Shadrack Sibiya, people who were going on his behalf, allegedly to collect bags full of cash, CCTV footage being shown as well. So let's find out about what's been happening today. Oren's been following that for us. Oren, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. Take us through what Dumisani Khumalo is covering today.
A lot of what he's spoken to this morning has got to do with that interministerial committee's meeting in their establishment in 2018. This was the committee that was established by the president to look into how they would police political killings in the province of KZN. And it formed a lot of the formation of the interministerial committee was that of various ministers from defense to police and so forth. And so they've been going through minutes of those meetings. But earlier on, he also spoke about a meeting he had previously in December last year with Beki Tele, in that Tele met with him to say that when he met with Kat Matlala, when Tele met with Kat Matlala allegedly told Tele that Shadrach Sabia told him to go and open a case against Dumisani Kumalo and the PKTT in relation to Rolex watches and a laptop that was stolen or allegedly taken from his home during a raid by those units in December last year. So just a little bit coming out from Kumalo that we've already heard of. I think a lot of what he's saying is a rehash of what people have said before the testament, the Madlanga Commission so far.
Well, let's take a quick listen in to what's being said there by Dumisani Kumalo.
Its meetings since the establishment, the elections came, and then the political leadership will change, but the ministries will continue. That's why we will see the new names of the ministers coming on board after elections.
Yes. And you see that in 2022 as well at page 84. This is your February meeting, and then if you turn to 85, you now have Premier Zikalala as a premier, and then you have Deputy Minister Matale, and under apologies, you now have Minister of Defense Modise and Lamula. So the departments continue and ministries continue to be represented, even though there was a change of administration and ministers.
That is correct, Commissioner. Even at provincial level, the first premier who started with the initial was Premier Mkunu. Then as we move on, Premier Zikalala, because of elections again. So the political figures will change, but the ministries will remain within the IMC.
Thank you. Thank you, General. Thanks, Ms. Hassan.
Dumisani Kumalo, the head of crime intelligence there on the stand of the Madlanga Commission. Now, Oren Singh, you have been picking up on testimony from yesterday, and that was around Shadrach Sabir. We heard about how there were people allegedly going to fetch money on his behalf. We heard about one individual, a guy by the name of Stuart James Sharnick. And he came up quite a bit. Just tell us, who is he? Because you've been speaking to him.
Well, essentially, yesterday before the commission, Mandy, it was alleged that he is Shadrach Sabir's bodyguard. We saw pictures of him coming up from Parliament's ad hoc committee when Sabir was testifying. And Stuart, quite a big person, quite... I would almost say he resembles Vin Diesel in the way he's built. He's quite a big guy. And you could see him quite stocky behind Shadrach Sabir in that picture. And Kumalo, Dumisani Kumalo coming out to say that he's a guy who's got multiple convictions against his name. And this is in relation to several cases that are predominantly from KZN dating back almost a decade around carjacking and theft of vehicles. And shortly after that happened, I'd say about probably 2 hours after the commission had stopped for the day, or had adjourned, Stuart contacted us and he said, look, I'd like to be afforded the opportunity to give my side and my version of events. And he said that he had also been in touch with the Madlanga Commission. They had not been in touch with him, but he had to find a way to get in touch with them to say that he wants to come and defend himself in the claims that were made by Kumalo. And so we sat down with him late last night. He came into studio at about 7:30. We sat down for probably about a half an hour interview, which is up on our YouTube channel. But essentially, we wanted to get to the allegations of who is he and what's his close proximity to Sabir. He's saying he's not Sabir's bodyguard, so who are you exactly? And this is what you'll hear in the clip that we're about to play.
What's sort of your relationship with Shadrach Sibiya? Because General Khumalo is essentially alleging that you are his close protector, a bodyguard, essentially to Shadrach Sibiya. And in some instances, I think when you appeared before the ad hoc committee in Parliament, when you were sitting behind General Sibiya, he alleged that you were impersonating a cop, if I've got that correct. What's your response to those allegations?
Well, those are blatant lies. As he rightfully said, there's accreditation for you to go into Parliament. And on my accreditation, it was written the legal team, as I have in-depth knowledge of some of the evidence that's going to be unpacked in the ad hoc committee as well as the Madlanga Commission. Now, General Khumalo knows that. He also knows my proximity with Deputy National Commissioner Shadrach Sibiya, especially because the majority of the arrests that were initiated in our area was due to Shadrach Sibiya's intervention with the local business people in the area, and it went over and above what General Khumalo and Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi were doing with the PKTT. To put it bluntly, National came in and arrested more killers, more murderers than the PKTT did in our area. And that's a static fact. That's a statistician's fact.
What's your relationship with Shadrach Sibiya? Because from what Khumalo was trying to paint, or what General Khumalo was trying to paint, is that you're his bodyguard. What's your direct response to those allegations?
Well, he's simply misleading the commission. I've never been his bodyguard. I'm not a bodyguard. I'm not in the security industry. And I simply know Shadrach Sibiya from the cases that he assisted, particularly in our area. And every time we call him, he's always open and available to assist us. Wherever we needed his assistance, he's always assisted us. So when I saw that they had taken his close protectors away and they had taken the vehicles away from him, I then availed one of my vehicles, which is the Toyota Hilux that you saw, which is B6'd. It means it's bulletproof to semi-automatic carbine rounds, meaning it can withstand bullets from an AK-47. And I'm the person who then borrowed him that vehicle to travel around while he was trying to source his transport and get more protectors, which was declined by the National General Any. What's become extremely evident is that Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, Lieutenant General Tumsani Khumalo, and the National Commissioner are in one camp, and they're utilizing state resources to fight internal battles that they have with other members.
The generals that you've just mentioned, in that of the National Police Commissioner Fani Masimola, Head of Crime Intelligence Dumisani Khumalo, and KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi being part of one camp, do you then concede that you possibly are aligned to the other camp that we've heard of, that there may be an allegiance between the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrach Sibiya, and other names like that of the National Head of Security and Counterintelligence, Major General Feroz Khan?
Simply put, I'm not involved in either faction. I'm not a SAPS officer. I've never claimed to be a SAPS officer. If I see something wrong, I'm not an informant. I'm not registered. I've got nothing to do with anything within SAPS. But if I do see something wrong and I can assist, as a standing citizen in South Africa and as a patriot to the country, I will definitely assist. However, what's taking place is clearly a showdown between the generals in the highest table in the country, and I'm definitely not there at all, nor am I a part of any big five cartel that they're talking about. I simply assisted with my vehicle when I could see that a general was under siege and his family or his life was at risk. And I have multiple vehicles, and I assisted with the vehicle that's there. Hence, it's still in my name, and I'm out here transparently saying that is my vehicle. Lieutenant General Khumalo knows who I am. He knows where I'm from. He has my number. He could have phoned me at any time. He is simply utilizing the platform to run a narrative, trying to link us into an imaginary cartel, which he's fictitiously put together to try and clear his name from his own criminal cases that he's facing. Right now, the man that's actually facing criminal charges and who's out on bail is General Khumalo, not General Shadrack Sibiya. Neither am I on bail at all.
That is Stuart James Sharnick, an ally of Shadrack Sibiya, speaking to Oren Singh last night after he was mentioned in testimony yesterday. Well, I'd like to hear him go to the commission and for the commission to hear that evidence as well. And I'm sure that when Shadrack Sibiya comes to the Madlanga inquiry, you'll be hearing a lot of responses as well. But what are your thoughts on that, taking a listen to that interview that Oren Singh has done? Send us a WhatsApp voice note. Let us know what you think.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
I'm Samela Kilboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Protect public health. Increase the health tax on sugary drinks, tobacco, and alcohol. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a shift worker making his way home and daydreaming about his next career move, his next chapter. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a possible light bulb moment that could change someone's life. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
WhatsApp Mandy
On 072 702 1702.
Hey Mandy, hope you're good. Look, at some point I was really hoping and praying and rooting for the previous Chief Justice Mogoeng to rise up, to the call of being a president or a mayor of a particular city and making a difference. He was those people I was looking forward to seeing stand up for the change of this country, but I don't know what's going on with him now. Maybe you can find that out for some of us who are interested on what's going on with Mogoeng. Where is he? What is he up to? And is he still running for presidency at any time soon?
Yeah, I asked the question earlier, do we have that kind of politician like a Zohran Mamdani, not in terms of his politics or his policy, but somebody who can get the electorate out voting in South Africa, somebody who comes out of nowhere? On the WhatsApp line, Veli says, good day, Mandy. We do have that person in our country who would just emerge from almost nowhere and galvanize the country and be a leader. General Mkhwanazi. All that is needed is for him to be convinced or on his own volition decide the time has come, let me step up and avail myself. I mean, that's an interesting suggestion. Can you see somebody like General Mkhwanazi? He has massive popular support in KZN across the country. Is that somebody who could step into politics? Somebody who, like Mamdani, gets people out and voting, regardless of the policies or the politics. Somebody who gets people excited. What do you think about that? Send me a WhatsApp voice note.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
at the ad hoc committee in Parliament today. The acting police minister, Feroz Kachalia, is on the stand there giving evidence. Babalo Ndenze, EWN parliamentary reporter on that for us. Babalo, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. Tell us about what the acting minister has been saying.
Yes, indeed, Mandy. Day 15 of the hearings, Acting Minister Feroz Kachalia now, giving evidence. He's being questioned by evidence leader Arendse, and he's been talking about issues around the political killings task team, which is the main issue. And he's saying that, he couldn't understand the disbandment of the PKTT. And he says he's concerned about, assassinations of whistleblowers, etc. He also mentions, Babita Deokaran and her assassination, saying that the PKTT could go beyond, just politics or inter-party politics and conflict, and that there should be a strategy around this to fight organized crime, as a whole. They're also talking about those dockets that were taken away from, the PKTT and moved to Pretoria. He says he's concerned about what happened to these dockets. He also raised this matter with Fanny Masemola after his appointment on the 1st of August. So he raised these matters with Fanny Masemola on 2 occasions at least. He says he's trying to understand whether the PKTT has indeed been disbanded or not. He says if it had been disbanded, what happened to those dockets? So he's questioning the issues around the PKTT disbandment, and understand the directive by the minister. Also, the details of the actual issues that are happening within the PKTT, like these dockets. Also, he touched on briefly at the beginning of his testimony when he was being questioned by evidence leader Norman Arendse about, the original Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi meeting on the 5th of March earlier this year, as well as his July press conference, and, basically how he felt about this evidence being presented by the KZN Police Commissioner. And he says he was quite worried at some point when it came to Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's, the way he presented himself on that 6th of July press conference, and questioning basically his professional approach to that and the way he was dressed. But just take a listen to how he reacted to this and what he told the committee, Mandy.
And I said at the time, which I maintain is correct, that was that kind of public statement was not in the ordinary situation, in the expected situation, appropriate, because the police have a command structure. There's a national commissioner.
It does make you wonder if the acting police minister is in Parliament, the ad hoc committee, and the head of crime intelligence is at the Madlanga inquiry. Who's running the SAPS today? We have a national commissioner. I mean, he's I'm sure doing the job, but I can understand why this is necessary, but also how consuming it is with the leadership of the police. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia says KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's July press conference was inappropriate and it worried him. He says Mkhwanazi's appearance in public in full military gear was unusual and he should have tried to be professional as a senior police officer. Kachalia was responding to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee's evidence leader today, who questioned him about Mkhwanazi's allegations. The Umkhonto Party has shaken up its parliamentary top brass again, appointing former Finance Minister Des van Rooyen as its new chief whip. This is the 4th chief whip the party has had since it entered Parliament 15 months ago. The party says under van Rooyen's leadership, the parliamentary caucus will be strengthened and more strategically aligned with its mission. And the Tshwane municipality says it will be complying with the ruling from the SA Local Government Bargaining Council to increase the salaries of all its employees. The capital initially approached the council seeking a deviation from a previously agreed upon arrangement for a 3.5% salary hike in the 2021-2022 financial year. The municipality argued it was unable to afford the increase, but its reasons were dismissed. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagele Mganga. South Africa have now lost 3 games in a row against Pakistan after losing by 2 wickets in yesterday's first ODI. A third wicket partnership of 91 off 111 balls between Mohammad Rizwan and Salman Ali Agha set up the victory, while openers Lubandre Pretorius and Quinton de Kock had started well for the Proteas as both scored half centuries, but the rest of the team struggled with the bat.
To be honest, I would have never thought I would play with him. When he retired, I was really upset because it was always a dream since I was young to play with Quinny. And then he retired, and when he came back, I didn't think I was gonna play with him. Thought he might replace me. It's really cool. Yeah, I haven't been scoring runs of late, so I was really nervous going into this, but I just backed myself. Coach Wans and Chooks always speak about it: back yourself and back your ability. There's a reason you're here, so I just focused on doing that. And yeah, I wouldn't say it paid off. 50 is, I don't want to say that's runs. I would have liked to kick on and score 100.
In the Bedway Premiership, there are 4 games scheduled this evening, including Golden Arrows at home to Orlando Pirates, while Mamelodi Sundowns host TS Galaxy. Keanu Cupido has discussed what he expects from their showdown against the Rockets.
TX Galaxy is a team that want to play on the break, so their 2 wingers are very good actually, young and quick as well, so we know they rely more on them. We know that we have to stop them, then we know the game will be much easier for us. Sanawanas came out this past weekend, we felt their support. Just want to say thank you for being there with us throughout the game, from the warm-up actually until the end of the game where we had to sing together. I want to say thank you to you guys.
And Anse Hubert has revealed that she suffered with depression due to the demanding nature of the WTA schedule, as she called on tennis authorities to downgrade the Masters 1000 tournaments that are played over 2 weeks. In July, the Tunisian shared a heartfelt message on social media, announcing that she was taking an indefinite break from the game in order to focus on her well-being. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving Lenasia heading towards Vereeniging, there's slow-moving traffic N3 southbound. This is between the N12 and the R558. There's also slow-moving traffic. This is due to roadworks in the Calvin Alex area on the N3 in both directions between the Butlu Interchange and London Road. Slow-moving traffic as well heading into Bedford View. That's leaving Edenvale on the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis Interchange, while in the Mother City we're still dealing with that incident scene. This is on the N1 incoming before Sable, causing heavy delays all the way from Blatterkloof Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
For news on South African industry and mining, Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly has you covered. Click through to Creamer Media's Engineering News each day for the latest on the people and companies shaping the energy transition and South African industry. Keep your finger on the critical minerals pulse by visiting Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. For deeper insight, subscribe to the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, out on Fridays. Creamer Media, current, credible, comprehensive.
Small businesses are anything but small.
They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers,
the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward.
That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them
in the spotlight.
Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. Catch Small Business Focus with Capitec,
where we showcase the hustle, heart,
and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone.
Small Business Focus with Capitec,
the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m.
on 702.
Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP.
46669.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Mandy. With that interview with that Stuart Sean, Sean Stewart, whatever his name is, and him saying he gave a bulletproof bucky for the general or the commissioner. No, he's general. But I want to know, What ordinary person would have a bulletproof vehicle? That tells me why has he got bulletproof vehicles in the first place? Very fishy. Lee Alberton.
Mandy, great show. You do not need a PhD to see what kind of characters Sibia actually involves themselves with. You don't need a PhD. Sibia is a rogue cop, is a corrupt cop, everything that Mukhwanazi said.
Hi, Mandy. So this Stuart James guy is just a normal concerned citizen that phones police generals as he pleases. I mean, that's not normal. He needs to come and explain himself, and we don't believe anything he says. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Lots of reaction there to the interview that Oren Singh did that we played a bit earlier on with the ally of Shadrach Sibia. On the Twitter, Lindy says, Stuart makes claims about internal battles. What are those internal battles? If he's not part of it, how come he knows so much? The Deputy National Commissioner, Sibia, under siege, as an example of what he's claiming. Under siege from who or what? Why does he believe that? Where's the evidence? And then on the WhatsApp line, Michael says, greetings, Business Unity President Bonang Mohale is one such leader, Mandy. That's from Naftal in Pretoria. I was asking whether or not there could be some kind of leader that could emerge out of nowhere, like a Zohran Mamdani, and get the electorate out. And a few other messages as well coming through. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note 072 702 1702 072 567 1567.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
The 2025 South African Future Trust Summit underway today and tomorrow at the Sandton Convention Centre. The two-day extravaganza will see over 2,000 entrepreneurs, investors, policymakers and industry heavyweights attending. And this is all about entrepreneurship and making sure that they can get their businesses growing and operating and creating jobs. This crossing with Ray White is brought to you by the South African Future Trust Summit. Ray, good afternoon to you. Tell us what's been happening there so far.
Hello, Mandy Wiener. Well, quite a bit has been happening. We've been hearing from the experts. We heard from Jonathan Oppenheimer this morning. He was saying what he would like to see from the summit. This is the third one in a row for 2025, and it's all about growing your businesses. And he was basically saying, we're living in a society now where the private sector, we've got to create the jobs. Small business has got to create the jobs. So what I thought, Mandy, I'd do for us is get one of the experts, because he can put it into sort of English better than I can. Joining us is Richard Mulholland. Now, Richard toured with Iron Maiden. He then helped leaders to get their messages out. Today, he helps companies to, quote, become a threat to the future and not the future becoming a threat to them. So he is an expert on entrepreneurship. Richard, one question for you. I'm going to pass the phone over. How do you survive? How do you become that entrepreneur that survives for the next 3 years?
You know, Ray, I believe that there are three attributes that we need to have in business today. The first one, and it sounds silly, but we need to be optimistic. I see so much pessimism around AI and disruptive technologies that exist, but no pessimist has ever achieved anything worthwhile. It's okay to be cautious. We can be cautiously optimistic, but must work under the assumption that good can come of it. The second thing is we need to be curious, but actively curious. These algorithms feed us information all day long, but we never train them to give us the information that we need. If we start asking the question, what is the best that can happen? What is the best that can happen to us? Then become curious about how you can be appropriate to that. But the last thing, and I think it's the most important thing, is we need to become playful and mischievous. We need to challenge the status quo. I think all entrepreneurs and business people need to work under the assumption that their business is under threat. But you're not going to be put out of business by a better business, but by a better business model. And instead of waiting for it to happen, why don't you decide to be the one who creates it? So the way to be a threat to the future is to disrupt the status quo yourself. You're the one that has to go out there and make mischief.
There you go, Mandy. I couldn't have put it better myself.
Well, no, Richard Mulholland is an absolute expert at the English language and speaking. So thank you for that, Ray.
There we go. Thanks, Mandy.
Ray White speaking to us there. He's at the South African Future Trust Summit that's underway today and tomorrow at the Sandton Convention Centre. It really is celebrating entrepreneurship. Investors, policymakers, industry heavyweights are all coming together to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
So the big news coming out of the US last night and the elections that took place in across the country, I think the most focus from the media perspective has been on the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, who clinched the mayorship of America's largest city in New York. A remarkable upset is how it's being described. He built a campaign with a steadfast focus on affordability, and he defeated the New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa. He will become the city's youngest mayor in more than a century and the first Muslim mayor in New York City's history. So let's understand what this means for US politics. Dr. Terence McNamee is a senior fellow at the Montreal Institute for Global Security and joins us now. Dr. Terence McNamee, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, Mandy.
So tell us about, firstly, for those who haven't been following US politics, who is Zohran Mamdani and what does it mean for US politics?
Yeah, big question. Well, quickly on Mamdani, so he was someone who was known much more by his very famous parents. One is one of Africa's most famous academics, Mahmoud Mamdani, and then his mother is a famous filmmaker. But he was virtually completely unknown up until a couple of years ago. And he didn't really have a proper job until he became an assemblyman in New York. And I think that happened around 2021, 2022. And then he developed a bit of a profile within New York local politics. And then really 2024 is when he really emerged as this sort of extraordinarily gifted communicator and voice of the sort of progressive left in New York City. And he's just been on this incredible trajectory since then. But in terms of its significance, I think one of the important points to make at the outset for your listeners is that, you know, New York City is very much almost a country of its own. It's not only just a very, very democratic blue city, but it's also very, very unique in its dynamic. So it's an extraordinary victory, but we can't extrapolate too heavily and assume trend lines across the rest of America. But we can talk a little bit about why it's extraordinary as well.
And of course, South Africans will remind you that he did go to school in South Africa and in Uganda as well. So, you know, we like to claim people, even if they are Elon Musk or Mamdani. So in terms of his approach to politics, I've been asking the question here is, could we see that kind of character, Mamdani kind of character, not in terms of his politics or his policies, but somebody coming up in South Africa who gets the electorate out and gets people excited about politics in a population where we're largely cynical about politicians?
Absolutely. So I think it's entirely possible. I mean, first, as I mentioned earlier, we can't underestimate just how gifted a political communicator he is. And he is very much a fresh voice. As you said, he's, you know, the youngest mayor ever, I think, of New York City. There's so many aspects of him that are fresh and unique. And also, he's very much a child of a party that is very much fragmented and factionalized at the moment. So he's sort of emerging from this very, very complex and muddied situation. And he seems to everyone a shining star. But if you look across the sort of South African landscape, certainly you have gifted political communicators like Julius Malema, but those have, you know, limited appeal. You know, that kind of populist, reactive nature, it doesn't seem to have much traction. So I don't think there's any comparable voice in South African politics today, but that's not to say that one couldn't emerge.
And in his acceptance speech, he directly addressed President Donald Trump, and that really has been the kind of conflict that has centered in the last 24, 48 hours is Donald Trump stepping into all of this. But generally, last night, a good night for Democrats across the U.S.
Yeah, so I think the Trump point is fascinating because, listen, it's almost inevitable that he's going to try and unleash federal chaos on the city of New York. Now, the conventional wisdom, of course, is that Trump is thrilled that Mamdani has been elected because he's kind of a perfect foil to Trump and MAGA. He's kind of the ultimate red meat for his base. However, big counter to that is that Trump might also realize how gifted a communicator Mamdani is. And he's a master, just like Trump, of drawing to himself and his cause a tremendous amount of attention. So to some extent, I think Trump probably would have preferred someone in New York who's more of a typical establishment figure. I think he probably and his team don't quite know what to do with Mamdani at this moment. And I think to some extent they're going to be treading on eggshells, because I think in the case of Mamdani, we heard his speech last night. I mean, that was rhetorically incredibly gifted. So I think they've got a really formidable foe in Mamdani in New York City.
Terence, thank you so much for that analysis. Dr. Terence McNamee, Senior Fellow at the Montreal Institute for Global Security, speaking to us there. And if you missed it, he referenced the acceptance speech last night by Mamdani. Take a listen.
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it.
So that was Mamdani's acceptance speech last night on the WhatsApp line. Louis says, ISIS gives their support to Mamdani. That says it all. And then there was another one here. Sharon says, don't forget to say Mamdani is a communist. Look at what the mayor has done to London. So lots of reaction there. I think quite a polarizing figure. But the question I've been asking is, do we have somebody, regardless if they are on the far left or the far right of the spectrum, if they're centrist in their politics, do we have someone in this country who can get people excited, who can get people out to actually vote, considering our high voter apathy in South Africa?
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like the eager beaver driving to meet the woman of his dreams. Butterflies in his stomach, GPS on full volume. He checks his hair for the 7th time. Looking good. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a possible love story on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
This festive, when your family gathers, feed them the Nando's Festive Fill-Up meal. Feed Auntie, who's in charge of the key to that storeroom. And feed that niece that makes the strict grandparents do TikTok challenges. Huh? And that cousin that watches the same movie that comes in part 1, 2, 3, 4, and many more. Yeah, you can feed it too. Gather them all for the Nando's Festive Fill-Up meal for only $3.99. Eat at Nando's and pay 40 Rand less. Nando's, oh, what a place.
Small businesses are anything but small.
They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers,
the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward.
That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them
in the spotlight.
Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. Catch Small Business Focus with Capitec,
where we showcase the hustle, heart,
and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone.
Small Business Focus with Capitec,
the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m.
on 702.
Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP.
46669.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Good day, Mandy. Why would a senior general, to be exact, a deputy general of a deputy national commissioner, be friends with people who were previously convicted? No, here's it. Yeah, no. Zakala, Mandy. Thank you, Sbong Changas.
Afternoon, Mandy. Wow, I'm amazed at these so-called businessmen who are willingly coming up to the mic and professing their association with the implicated police officials. Wow. And not thinking that when you associate yourself with an implicated law enforcement officer, that also kind of raises the eyebrows to say, are you also one of the potentially dodgy group? I'm amazed at all these guys just willingly coming up to the mic. Is it now our time to shine? Is it I want to be famous? Is it the spotlight is on us, so let me take my position? Like, wow.
Zekala. There's a lot happening in this country, that's for sure. I do think it's a bit of a free-for-all now. I think everybody wants their time to shine. Everybody wants to make sure they get their message across. And I think we also need to wait for Sabia to respond as well, because this is what happens when you go first in these things, is that you immediately get the opportunity to give your version. And it's always like a pendulum that's swinging. But I think that the court of public opinion has reached a pretty firm conclusion there. But yeah, I think there's a lot going on and a lot more still to come.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
A new report out from Amnesty International South Africa called Flooded and Forgotten Informal Settlements and the Right to Housing in South Africa. It looks at the incidence and impact of floods, both large-scale and seasonal, caused by heavy rain on residents of informal settlements and underserved areas, particularly in Joburg, eThekwini and Cape Town. And the conclusion is that government is failing millions of people trapped in informal settlements and impacted by the climate crisis. Cassandra Dorasamy is a campaigner at Amnesty International and joins us now. Cassandra, good afternoon to you. Firstly, why did Amnesty International decide to conduct this report?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and good afternoon to your listeners. The urgency of the climate crisis is part of the reason why we decided to come up with the report right now. What we say in the report isn't exactly new news. It's something that we hear about from partners, from communities themselves who experience these regular bouts of flooding whenever there is a rainy season. We hear it from academics, but Amnesty decided to join in this call because an urgent intervention is needed right now to ensure the protection of over 5 million people who are living in informal settlements in the context of the increasing intensity and frequency of flooding that we're experiencing.
Take us through some of the findings of the report.
Well, the report looks at two types of flooding, as you mentioned. There's the major incidents, and those are the ones that grab headlines, and rightly so because of the nature and extent of them. For example, in 2022, when over 400 people died in KZN and Eastern Cape from flooding in those areas. And even this year, where 100 people died in the Eastern Cape from the floods. And also looks at the in-between seasons, the rains that don't catch headlines. And those are important because in a country such as ours that still has vast spatial inequality, in part because of the legacy of apartheid and colonialism, but also because of the failure of successive democratic governments to ensure adequate housing for all. These are communities that are left to fend for themselves whenever there is rain and flooding. And we heard from community members how fearful they are when there is rain because it means that their property is going to be damaged, their clothes, their ID documents is going to be damaged. People lose days of wages because they have to attend to their homes during those rainy seasons. Children miss out on school. There are health hazards. And those are the forgotten stories that we wanted to highlight in this report.
And your finding is that more government action is urgently needed to deal with this?
Yes, and in two parts. One is to provide safe, housing for everyone in South Africa, access to safe housing for all. And that's a call that was repeated by community partners when we launched the report yesterday. There is an upgrading of informal settlements program that government has that is intended to work with communities to ensure upgrading of where people live, and instead of relocating, but working with people in the communities where they are to ensure like better lighting, better sanitation services, proper physical infrastructure for the houses that are built. And that is one program that needs an injection and a boost and a rapid rollout, together with considerations for how communities need to be adapted for climate change, with stormwater drainage and other systems, early warning responses and other systems that need to be in place while communities are upgraded. So in essence, yes, the government has many plans and policies in place to respond to disasters, but what we found is that the response is too slow, it's inconsistent and patchy, and people are often left to fend for themselves or rely on charities.
Cassandra, thank you so much. Cassandra Dorasamy, campaigner at Amnesty International, speaking to us there about the report, Flooded and Forgotten, how informal settlements and the right to housing in South Africa, how that is impacting on residents.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
This year, the City of Gold will be welcoming 19 countries for the G20, happening for the first time in South Africa. And today, John Pillman will be talking to Thabiso Relashe from Santam. He will discuss the importance of this sponsorship, Santam's involvement in the G20 Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group, and other Santam initiatives and programs. Don't miss the conversation on 702 Drive with John Pillman, today between 3 and 6 p.m. Let's walk the talk.
The Midday Report.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk was brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Kachalia says Mkwanazi's explosive press conference worried him, and the MK party shakes up its parliamentary leadership again. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia says KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkwanazi's July press conference was inappropriate and it worried him. He says Mkwanazi's appearance in public in full military gear was unusual and he should have tried to be professional as a senior police official. Kachalia has been responding to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee's evidence leader who questioned him about Mkwanazi's allegations. He is giving evidence before the committee, which is investigating police corruption in Parliament today.
His appearance before the public, in full military regalia, armed and so forth, worried me. And I made a statement to that effect after my appointment. And I said at the time, which I maintain is correct, that kind of public statement was not in the ordinary situation, in the expected situation, appropriate.
Stuart Sharnick, a close associate of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, has refuted allegations made against him by crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo. Yesterday, Khumalo appeared before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, where he detailed Sharnick's extensive criminal record with 18 convictions against his name. During an exclusive interview with 702 and EWN last night, Sharnick provided clarity on the cases against him. He claims Khumalo misled the commission by not providing proper information regarding his conviction.
Myself and a number of business people were involved in buying and selling vehicles. However, we hadn't done the due diligence in checking on how the vehicles were acquired and the system used to register them on e-Natus. A whole host of police officers were arrested. There was a whole host of businessmen that were arrested.
He concedes that as a result, he and his co-accused were convicted on 18 counts ranging from carjacking to theft.
I've served the suspended sentence and I've paid the fine. So in our South African constitution, I'm a free man. I have no other cases that are pending against me. I'm not involved in crime syndicates. And furthermore, General Khumalo knows that.
The Umkhonto weSizwe Party has shaken up its parliamentary top brass again, appointing former Finance Minister Des van Rooyen as its new chief whip. This is the fourth chief whip the party has had since it entered parliament 15 months ago. The party says under van Rooyen's leadership, the parliamentary caucus will be strengthened and more strategically aligned with its mission. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Veteran parliamentarian Des van Rooyen takes over the reins as whip from Colleen Makubele, who was appointed in May, just 4 months after she was sworn in as an MP. Makubele, a former Speaker of the Johannesburg City Council, toppled Mzwanele Mani from the role. It was initially held by Sihle Ngubane when the party made its parliamentary debut as the official opposition after last year's elections. The MK party has not given reasons for removing Makubele from the role after just 5 months, but says she remains an MP. The party says in his new role, Van Rooyen will enrich the work of the parliamentary caucus, sharpen its political focus, and enhance its ability to represent the will of the people. Van Rooyen, the country's most short-lived finance minister and also a former cooperative governance minister, has been serving the party on the finance committee since he was sworn in as an MP last year. Makubele has not responded to requests for comment. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
We shift our focus to this now. The Tshwane municipality says it will be complying with the ruling from the SA Local Government Bargaining Council to increase the salaries of all its employees. The capital initially approached the council seeking a deviation from a previously agreed upon arrangement for a 3.5% salary hike in the 2021-2022 financial year. The municipality argued it was not able to afford the increase, but its reasons were dismissed. Tabiso Koba has more.
Since 2022, the Tshwane municipality has been bouncing between the bargaining council and the labour courts, fighting against implementing the salary increase. The municipality has maintained it cannot afford the 3.5 increase, which would add 489 million rand to its annual budget. However, the municipality has now been ordered to implement the salary increase and pay the workers retrospective back pay. DA Tshwane spokesperson on finance, Jackie Ace, says the back pay alone will likely set back the municipality close to 1.4 billion rand.
The DA believes that the award is legally flawed, and we call on the City of Tshwane to take it on judicial review.
However, Tshwane MMC for Finance, Eugene Modise, says the city won't be taking the ruling on review and instead will be engaging with the worker unions on a sustainable plan to implement the increases. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And in Australia, critics who have raised concerns over data privacy have welcomed a decision to ban Reddit for children under the age of 16. They say delaying children's access to social media accounts gives them valuable time to learn without harmful algorithms. Federal Communications Minister Anika Wells says the online platforms can target children and the ban is for the sole purpose of protecting those 16 years and under. The ban begins next month, but it's unclear how companies will be implementing it. Gold is trading at $3,966.30 an ounce. The rand is at 17.49 to the dollar, 22.81 to the pound, 20.09 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.89 a barrel.
Well, at this stage in Rudaport, you can expect some delays heading towards Soweto on the N1 southbound between